Hello and welcome to another edition of the Medbay with Quantum Jump Medical. I'm Bob Harkin.
How's it going?
Good, good. So this is going to be part 2 of our discussion about 323. We were going a little long, so we wanted to cut this down a little bit. So we'll be talking about the rest of the features that we didn't get to in the first part. So yeah, let's just get into it.
Yep, back into it. So the next card, all I'm gonna say is thank you, God. This one was definitely needed probably more than any of the other cards that we've gone over so far.
Right.
Which is the player interaction experience. Like you said, you're trying to interact with something, you accidentally grab their helmet, or you're trying to grab something off the ground, you grab something different. There's a pile of stuff and you're trying to like focus in on that one item that you need. Way better. That it's going to be easy to tell. It's an easy like little rotary menu to choose, and then they have quick reactions too. They have 2 quick reactions: your primary and secondary action. So like for a gun, you can change all your pistols to equip. So instead of choosing equip, inspect, carry, store, you just click it once and you're like, okay, equip in the holster, done.
Right.
Or if you double click it, maybe that's your inspect. So you're like, okay, I want the sight off this one. And then you just throw it down on the ground and you have the sight. Yeah. You don't have to use the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, basically what they said was they didn't want that long list of items that you can, or interactions that you can do. It puts it all in a nice, neat wheel. And it kind of what it also sounded like was, so there's always that interaction where you look down at your gun and you're trying to do something like when we're trying to carry lowered. Like I like that look, so I try to carry lowered, but then I'm looking at my gun and it's showing me the carry lowered, but then I accidentally clicked on something that's 5 feet in front of me and that had a completely different interaction. So with this new player experience, it sounds like it's going to lock it onto the gun. It won't even show me, or won't even have that in my view of the other thing that I could interact with. It's going to be a more flawless and more intelligent system, it sounds like, because they kind of said that, where it would know kind of what you're looking at and what you're trying to interact with. Because yeah, there's a lot of frustration right now with just trying to do any of those interactions. And when you're trying to look at something and looking at my gun, and then I accidentally activate my the flash.
Yeah.
And so there's all that kind of weird interactions that happen while we're trying to do stuff.
Yeah, I hate when I'm trying to like activate my chem light, my blue chem light on my armor, and then I just grab a grenade in my hand. I'm like,
yeah,
cool. This is exactly what I wanted. One thing I'm really curious about this new interaction experience, and the thing that I really can't wait to test. Again, this was from the Black Book of notes, of stuff that people are just ignoring. Yeah. How well is this going to work with Tobii eye tracker? Because that's my biggest issue is when I'm trying to like aim at something, like at my gun to carry lowered, and if I slightly move my eyes, or if my glasses are down a little bit like this, and I look slightly, it changes what I'm looking at. And I want to see how well this works with Tobii eye tracker.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Like, they didn't even mention like if they had kind of tested it with that. So it'll be interesting to see how they, if they worked with any of those third-party applications and things that, and kind of played around with it to see how it works with that. So yeah, at least you and I have them, and we know of several of our org members have them, so it'll be interesting we'll have to play around with it and see how well it works, or
another
how
tool that we suggest.
Yeah, yep, exactly. It's so vital when you're in combat to be able to look around, look exactly where you're trying to see.
Yeah, the other day I was doing Arena Commander. One of the guys was watching us, and he's like, "Did you just shoot a missile off the side of your ship?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just have to look at him, and I can log onto him from this way and just shoot my missile into a curve. I don't have to aim at him anymore."
Yeah.
And then they bought a Tobii eye tracker that night because they're like, "That's the coolest thing ever."
Yeah, it is. It's very cool.
Yeah, like even when I'm walking, I have it set for FPS as well. I'll be going forward. I can Like, okay, where's the enemy at? You know, like I can freely look. It's so comfortable. Like I get spoiled when I play a lot of Star Citizen and go play something else. Because like I'll sit there and I'll be like, oh right, Tobii Tracker doesn't work for this because this game is lame. But yeah, I definitely need to see. That's my biggest like question with this is how well is it going to work with Tobii Tracker? Yes, I know you could turn off that specific thing of when you enter interaction mode, turn off Tobii, and that's how I have it right now. I turn off Tobii when I have it turn off Tobii automatically when I interact because it's just too hard.
Yeah, so we'll, like I say, hopefully they played around with it. Hopefully we can kind of play around and see how well it works and let everybody know when we get to that point. So yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be exciting to try out and test and see what we can break. Or how we can break it in fun new ways.
This next card, we're going to be on it for a while. EVA Tier 2.
Yeah.
No more vertical awkward. We were doing Kovalex. Were you doing Kovalex Shipping Hub with us the other night?
No, I wasn't there. I was listening to you guys, but
yeah, it was me, Alexis, and Ghostin. We were trying to do the Kovalex Shipping Hub that has no gravity, and we were just yelling because we just keep flipping like the tiniest little chair. It just spin us around, and we get lost and disoriented. EVA sucks when you get to that point. Like when I'm just flying from the ship to the 890 jump for the mission, no issues.
Right.
But when you do EVA, it's hard.
Well, I think that was the biggest. It seemed like that was the biggest point that they were making, like the being inside of a soft death ship or being inside of a station with no gravity, which I wonder if they're especially putting this in because there will probably be more places like that in Pyro. And I just thought about that, but there will be more derelict stations that you'll have to EVA into in Pyro because a pirate faction blew it up or at least took out the gravity generator. So there will be more places where we will be in 0G most of the time. The biggest thing I'm looking forward to is just not crashing into the ramp or losing control when you're trying to come into the ramp of a ship. You'll actually, it looked a lot smoother to where it actually like comes in and lands. Your body does, instead of coming in and, oh, I was slightly off, so now I'm sliding down the ramp out to the space
like
again,
flopping down the ramp until you're
and I have
back outside of the
absolutely no control.
I'm personally more excited for the combat part of EVA. Like whenever we do Arena Commander, we have one for EVA. I'm always in the EVA because it's just cool. It's fun.
Yeah.
But now being able to be, in a different stance and not a big target, like the other night when we were doing Korea Arena Commander.
Yeah.
Like when I saw you, it was just like, oh, there's a big target, right here that's just floating. Like that's easy to hit because he's slow.
Right.
But now if you're like just like a little dart, it's gonna be way harder for them to hit and way easier for you to get shots.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. And it sounds like it was kind of cool because he was talking about like looking behind you. You don't have to completely flip your body around. You'll just be kind of moving over yourself and having your gun in front of you instead, or like down your body instead of actually completely moving around. And it sounds also like, I didn't really get a sense of this yet, but it sounds like it's completely decoupled now. Instead of having like the jetpacks that are kind of push and pull, it sounds more like you go in a straight line and then you brake, but you space brake basically to slow yourself down instead of jetting yourself the whole way. Is kind of the way I read it, I guess. I don't know if you took that away from the SCL that they were talking about it.
Yeah, so that's basically how it did sound. They did say push and pull, and the fuel is not coming.
Yeah.
In this update, that'll be in a later update. However, looking at the card, it specifically does say introduces limited EVA fuel and encourages use of 0G push and pull and tractor tools, and multi-tools tractor beam. It specifically says that in the card, which...
So I wonder if they just didn't, if they forgot to update that.
You forgot to update that, or if it actually is coming, because I do remember there being a card for push and pull, like, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It was its own separate thing, as well as EVA.
Well, and they didn't necessarily say push pull was not coming. They said traversal. The like hands-on ship kind of traversal.
Oh, the little like weird mummy running thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if push pull comes and they have limited EVA fuel, that makes it way better. Like, because instead of jumping out like the entire time, like you have a jetpack on, you're gonna jump out and then you're only gonna brake, using the pack, and then if you need to turn, then you're gonna give yourself a little boost that direction.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize.
I kind of want
the limited EVA. I thought that, I did think that was gonna be later, but it'll be interesting. Well,
it is written there.
Yeah. And it kind of goes to what we were talking about the other day about how we're going to need a lot more space in our backpacks and stuff to where because there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to carry with you, not only when you go out and find stuff, but just to have your basic supplies. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to have to carry with us if we have to have EVA fuel and all of our medical equipment that we carry with us, our standard complement that we carry, but not only that, but your ammo for your weapons, your drinks, and all that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you're gonna have to have.
In perspective, a quantum jump medical kit consists of enough medical supplies and ammo to run through multiple siege of Orisons, as well as multiple hours of food, water, and supplies. So like with pyro, we have to add those radiation pins.
Yeah.
And then if EVA fuel has like little canisters that we could just refill our EVA fuel, we have to add that. Like we're currently running light backpacks, and we have just enough space to put our helmets in there.
Right.
To get a drink.
Yeah.
But once we add in all this extra stuff, we're not going to have that space. So we're going to upgrade to medium backpacks. At least carry what we would typically carry.
Right. Well, and you think too,
a standard person like you, the listener, you probably don't need all this stuff that we carry. You're okay with like 10 extra mags, like 2 or 3 waters, maybe a couple extra med pins, and you're good to go. But we carry a lot of extra equipment.
Yeah, that is very true. But you also got to think about when we all go to pyro, we'll have to have like our RMC with us, like, and that's everybody, not just the medical professionals, but to repair your ship when you lose a wing or whatever.
Exactly.
Or not necessarily lose a full wing, but need to patch it up. You're gonna have to have some RMC with you, so you're gonna have to have those canisters in your backpack as well. So yeah, it definitely adds up, or it will add up eventually.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna add up. Like I said, we're gonna have to switch to medium for us. Like you probably don't need to, because like I said, most people are kind of in the mindset still of I die, I don't care, I lose it. Like they're okay with just like moving on and stuff. For us, like it's more of a we're here to keep you alive, and we hope more people realize like, hey, there's actual people doing this,
right,
to give us more work to do, especially once Death of a Spaceman comes in. But we'll whole episode on that. But yeah, like extra stuff. They did say they do want to have like a backpack piece that was just EVA fuel and EVA boosters to make you move a little bit faster. Right. They did mention that. Obviously, I don't think that's coming. I think it's going to be the limited EVA fuel with like another hemazole pen that you just inject into yourself, and there's some more fuel.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be the third to the original 2 that we used to have, the oxypen and the hemazole, and then you'll have the EVA fuel. So it'll be kind of similar to that.
Yeah, you get 4 pins on your legs. And currently, right now, we have all Hemazol. At least I do. I carry all Hemazol.
Yep, that's what I
because
carry.
I use them when I get hit. And that's just my quick heal. I don't pull out my med tool and heal myself.
Right.
I just give myself a Hemazol pin. But I'm going to drop one of those for a radiation pin and one of those for an EVA fuel.
Gonna change the way we play, definitely.
I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for the. I'm excited to see it. I can't remember exactly the situation I was thinking where you might actually want to be in the like standing up position. Like I said, I can't remember what it was, but I was kind of thinking there are some situations where that might not, like laying down might not be the best, but we'll see. We'll have to see how it comes about and what we think when it gets here.
You want to be standing up when you can flex on them. Like when you kill somebody, you just go up there and start T-posing on them.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Yeah, definitely can't wait for that. That's gonna be a lot of. So this next one's a little different. This is not something that was ever that I can recall previously mentioned.
I think it was just like
Hostility.
I think in just this week's SCL, they like it wasn't like a mention, but it was just like a brief off the cuff kind of thing, like the hostility thing. Like you say, they didn't really address it, talk about it. Like it wasn't in that ISC, it wasn't in the SCL, really. Yeah, it's definitely interesting that this is a card that's on here. So basically, it sounds like
this also opens up a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Take Siege of Orison, where we're fighting Ninetales. If you do missions with the Ninetales and you have that reputation, maybe they don't shoot at you at Orison, and you can actually side with the Ninetales legitly.
Right. Yeah. I think it's going to be harder to get through security to get to the Siege of Orison if you have that. But I guess if you have the reputation, then the IFE would see you as a friend, so you could actually potentially fly in if you were
or another
had a
way
higher
in.
Reputation. Yeah, or a different way in. If you had a high enough reputation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that'd be really cool because I think the ability of being a pirate and siding with the Ninetales, like people do that now, right? Like they have I'm a Ninetales person,
right?
But they still have to fight the Ninetales and you,
right? Yeah.
But if they could have the Ninetales side with them, we would have Kurtz and security with us. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a nice update to reputation, and this is just kind of a next step in improving how the reputation system works.
Because the card shows like Orison, like it's definitely a Siege of Orison setting, so be interesting.
Yeah, like I said, it's just another update to what we already have in the game.
Yeah, definitely interesting because like I said, that can open up a lot of stuff for both sides. Especially more of the pirate sides who enjoy the PvP at those events. Being able to side with the other force.
Right.
And stop people from getting the IFTs down.
Yeah, it'll definitely change the way we interact with it, because now you're going to have to watch for real players as well as the AI enemy, the PvE enemy. So, yeah.
So the next one is another one that we kind of touched up on a little bit earlier. Starmap Rework.
Yeah, I was kind of trying not to, like, when we were talking about the FPS map update, obviously this kind of it all ties together, and even the Moby glass. So this is when you go into the map system, you go into the new star map. The thing I've been looking forward to the longest, I think. Like, I know I've complained to you about it, and I know everybody's complained about it for years and years and years.
It's annoying.
You're trying to zoom into the planet, and you're inside the planet all of a sudden, and I can't see what the landing zone that I'm trying to pick. It's, like you say, it's so annoying to deal with the current map, and it was built on Flash and was not the best implementation or the best choice of backend that they could have used to do a map. And so this is just like completely overhauling the map, and that's why we've had to wait so long, because they have been trying to build it into the new system and have been working on it for so long. And I think I can't remember if it's if it's building blocks or if it's another system, but it ties into that. And again, this just
its own building blocks.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if it was how it was implemented, but yeah, so this just like is a huge quality of life improvement that we've all been looking forward to, and it's one of those things that like I think it's like you were saying earlier with the helping new players. Like I think that's probably one of the biggest frustrations when you first get into the game and you're trying to set a waypoint to where you want to go, and either when you click on something it doesn't do anything, or you click on something and set something but it's not really the one that you wanted, but it's close enough, so you have to go with that one first and then you can jump somewhere else. I mean, hopefully it kind of improves the things. Like, I mean, just tonight I was taking off from the landing zone and I couldn't pick anything. Like, I couldn't choose anything on the map. I couldn't go anywhere until I had jumped up to the station, and then all of a sudden I was able to pick where actually you guys were, and I was trying to meet up with you. So hopefully it improves that kind of thing. And like I said, I think this is probably, I know when I started, this was one of my biggest frustrations with trying to play the game, was just trying to interact with the stupid map. And this is just so much nicer. And I mean, it's like a top-down overhaul of the map system. And it's cool because you can zoom in all the way to from the landing zone all the way out to the whole system. And eventually, bigger than that, the multiple systems you'll be able to zoom out across. Yeah, this is just, I think, one of those fundamental things that you, in any other game, you don't really think about when you're interacting with it, but it's something that needs to be right and correct, and you have to be able to interact with it properly. And so I think this is that kind of a huge step to just making the game a game, making it playable, making it not an alpha.
Yes.
This is like just a foundational kind of update that they are implementing, and will just make the game go further and farther into the future. I think that's I know I've talked about the map, and you're probably sick of me, and you guys enjoyed going to like the ship show, but like that's kind of why I was so excited to see the UI and the star map, especially because I do see it as one of those fundamental like gameplay things that they had to get right and needed to implement into the game to like make it like for us to look forward to being in beta phase, not alpha anymore. I mean, this is one of those fundamental things that you have to get right, and because it's such a big game and such wide implementation, obviously we have a whole star system that they have to map out. So obviously they have to build it up, but now we're actually getting to see that first iteration of this what we're going to see into the future, and be able to, like I said, jump from FPS map all the way up to star system map. And I'm just so excited to see it. Like I said, it was one of my biggest features that I was looking forward to seeing at CitizenCon, and I'm excited for us to be able to see it, hopefully in April, but in Q2.
Yeah. So another thing from the Star Citizen Black Book with the star map in general, one thing that I hope that they have acknowledged and will acknowledge in this update is party members on top of a location. So think about when we go to Daymar Rally and you try to find Eager Flats, and you're looking, and it's just a blob of names covering Eager Flats. So you just kind of have to jump to a person and hope for the best. Give us an option to remove party members from the star map, or give us a way to click only on planets.
Well, I think,
and not people.
I think in this first iteration, they will have those drop-down menus that they showed at CitizenCon. I don't think they're going to have the search function yet, but I think I can't remember if somebody said it specifically, but I think there was supposed to be those like drop-downs to where we'll be able to choose a planet and then choose like the landing zone or land where we want to land.
Okay.
So I think
That's
there will
something
be
that
that.
they need to look at.
But yeah, I don't know how they're gonna implement the party markers, because I'm sure there will be a complete overhaul of that. So that is a great question, and one that I don't know for sure, but I think somewhere they were saying that we don't have the search function yet, but we do have the drop downs.
Yeah, I mean, for people who've been watching, like I keep mentioning this little black book. This just has notes that I think of when watching other videos and stuff, of stuff that like I don't know if has ever been answered. And I think of like the weird questions. That's one of those weird questions. Hopefully, there's a way to combat the party markers. Again, for the average person, you're not going to have this issue. It's going to be people in your party allocation. You just click off to the side, and you're good to go. But when you're doing a demo or rally or any type of Atmo event, there's 100 people on one blob. Find that landing zone, I dare you. You can't. You just jump to a person and hope you don't go through the planet and die.
Yeah. And hope they didn't quantum at some point when you were doing that
and send you to the sun or something dumb. So it's one of those weird things that I hope that they thought about if they have the drop downs. Cool.
Yeah.
That answers my question and that solves the issue.
Right.
There's no drop downs, no search, no nothing. Give us like a button to click to toggle party markers, removes the party markers from your star map.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I do hope they, like you say, thought about that, because they didn't really ever show it in that demonstration of having party markers in the map system. So hopefully, like you say, they thought about it and will, even if it's not in this implementation, will be a good implementation in the future of showing where your party is, and I hope where your org members are and that kind of thing at some point. But that's obviously further down the line. They have not said anything about
2.0.
3.0. I keep
3.0.
I keep going through this, and I looked this up. This is a tangent because a bunch of people have been talking about orgs lately in other videos, and I had to go look this up and figure it out. But org 2.0 technically was when they implemented Spectrum, because apparently they had the org page before that. But when they added Spectrum and added those like our private forums, that was
things
all,
that no org ever uses.
Yes, exactly, the thing that nobody ever uses. But
I think we have one thing on ours that just says go join the Discord.
Basically, yeah, exactly. So that technically was org 2.0. Or what they considered part of org 2.0 was Spectrum coming online, and when they did the website update. So technically we were waiting for 3.0.
Or why not? Why not?
I know, just a tangent, but I like I said, a lot of people have been talking about orgs lately, and I just had to talk about my research.
So Starmap Rework, I can't wait. It's gonna be definitely pretty cool. Hopefully they thought about the 3% of us that do Atmo esports stuff and deal with the party markers.
Yes.
Or even larger organization events. Like I said, most people probably aren't going to deal with that.
Right. Yeah.
The next card is immensely, phenomenally, astronomically overdue because it pisses me off every time I'm like, hey, I want to grab one of my fancy little med devices or something. And I lose it because of Star Citizen being Star Citizen. And that's the item bank and unique item recovery.
Yeah. So I don't know if they've talked about how it's going to be implemented. I think there's a store that you have to go to, or
it's a kiosk.
Yeah. But I can't remember if they've said that there's going to be one in your personal hangar as well. But this is one of those little things that people have been asking about for a long time, and just finally getting implemented to where we can get those your subscriber bonuses or your armors and weapons that you bought from the pledge store. paints, I'm sure, and that kind of
Yeah.
thing will eventually be
Paints.
in that. So yeah, it's just like an easy way to, if you go do a bunker and there's a bug and you lose your thing, now there's a way to get it back.
Yeah, because like it used to be like if I lost too much stuff, I'll just go do a character reset and I get it all back. But they don't do that anymore. So like, I lost my blue Paramed device like day 1 of 322 patch.
Yeah.
So I've been without my blue Paramed device since day 1. And it was because I think I fell through the planet or something. Like I just walked forward and fell through Area 18 and lost it all. And I was like really upset, lost a bunch of my subscriber stuff. So I've just been without it since. So like being able to just get it back is cool. Now, yes, there is the thing of that everybody's been worried about with this is item duplications. What's stopping me from giving Bob here all my subscriber stuff in a box and then claiming it all? And then give them that box and claim it all and have an infinite amount of items. If they want to combat this, and this comes from the book, if they want to combat this, an idea that I had was put a insurance time like we do with ships, but since it's items, make it long. Make it you could only claim one item every 7 days. So if I lose my med device on a Monday, and I claim it Tuesday, and I lose it Wednesday, I can't claim it again until the following Tuesday. Make it 7 days I have to wait to claim it.
Yeah.
And that would really put a stop to it. And as somebody who has a lot of subscriber flare, I have like 4 or 5 years of constant subscriber flare, I'm okay with that. Like if I lose my item that I love for 7 days, I know I'm going to get it back in 7 days rather than having to wait. Is the patch coming this week? Is it coming next month? Is it going to be like 317.4, which was like, a year and a half long and I have to wait that long? Like, yeah, make it like 7 days, or pending, like if it's like a flare, like, like not a flare, but like, the light flares.
Right.
Make it like 3 days. Something small, maybe like 3 days, like depending on the size and of the item.
Sure.
Change how long it is. But if you want to just make it easy, everything's 7 days.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that idea. I like you say, there's going to be some way where they're going to have to combat people because people will try anything and everything to game the system. So I'm sure. I mean, they even talked about it, so I think they hopefully have a good implementation and a good way to combat that. So.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think this also includes, it says something about a item bank. So I think, and it looks like to where you put hopefully like put all your guns in this bank and then you'll be able to pull them out at any location is almost how it looks. I don't know. It says
that
retrieve and store items at multiple locations.
Yeah, like I could put my like a certain item in this bank, like one of my favorite guns, like my rocket launcher. I could put my rocket launcher in there, Area 18, and then at Orison, I'm like, hey, you know what? It'd be nice if I had my rocket launcher. I could just go grab it. That would be pretty cool. They definitely need to limit that to a finite amount of items.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'll have a specific a weight limit or
but maybe even give us a way to increase that. So like maybe make it 10 items and then you can pay like 1 million credits to get like another 10 items. Like, give us a way to kind of do that. That'd be kind of cool. But hard limited as well, like no more than 50 items. Yeah. Because then you're paying a lot of money to get more items, but there's still that hard limit of like, okay, definitely be interesting to see how they work that.
Yeah, they haven't really talked too much about it, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it was a surprise card. I wasn't expecting that on this one.
Yeah.
Speaking of surprise cards, the next one we've already talked about extensively.
Yeah.
Which is the freight elevators. I was not expecting freight elevators again.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I guess the one thing we didn't talk about necessarily was that, because we talked about them in context with the personal hangers and the instance hangers, but it also looks like they're adding it to the sides of like the mining areas and the distribution centers and stuff. I've seen a lot of talk about this. Like I've watched a bunch of other YouTubers talk about it, and I don't know, it's just interesting how it's going to work because you're going to be kind of out in the open. You're not going to be in an instance hanger where you have a lot of time to load up, but then there was also the speculation that it's more for your your smaller vehicles like a Cuddy Black or a Freelancer, like where you're not doing a whole C's worth of cargo or a C2 worth of cargo where you're loading up, but you're just loading up a smaller load and then taking it up to a station or something like that. So this will maybe give a reason to have those medium-sized cargo haulers and give them a place to do their hauling.
So things reminded me that they will be at those outposts, because yeah, they would. And that brings me to another Black Book question. What about places like Rio Breaker's Yard where you sell the illegal drugs? Do we just go up to a terminal and we sell it like we do now? Or do we have to physically unload our C2 filled with drugs into a cargo elevator and then drop it down to sell?
I think you have to unload it. I think that's going to be the implementation.
That would be really cool, because like it would take a lot longer. There's a lot more risk involved.
Yeah.
Like we had one guy make like $36 million in a night just selling drugs there.
Right. You wouldn't be able to. We'd need the whole crew.
Yeah, you would need security. You would need a crew moving boxes. It turns from a one-person job to a 10+ person requirement.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about now. It's like all the stolen cargo, all the drugs, all the everything that you need to sell is now going to be in the open, and something that takes 10 minutes to run to the terminal and back. It's not going to take hours depending on how much you got. Like, we organized that's those 2 C2s and the 2 whole Cs. That took us like 2 hours just doing it in space, and there was like 8 of us running that. I can't even imagine doing this.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, so it's definitely like these freight elevators are like I said, this patch is Star Citizen 2, a whole new game.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we've had small incremental changes to the game. I mean, obviously some of them have been bigger than others, but compared to this is a completely different game that we're going to be playing in a couple months or in a quarter or so.
The biggest change that we've had to date, still for me, is 315.
Yeah.
Adding medical.
Right.
That was huge gameplay change, and a lot of people were like, wow, it's different. This is different.
Oh yeah. This is a complete change to the game.
And we haven't even talked about one of the bigger changes too, which we can go to right now: master modes.
Yeah, master modes. So we have been testing it out and get to test it out. Everybody gets to test it out, but we've been specifically playing in Arena Commander and testing out master modes and playing around with it and seeing how it's implemented. Obviously, we have really only gotten to test how it works in combat. I mean, or in specific combat situations. I think it'll be a lot different once it's implemented into the PU and how it's going to work. Obviously, I do like the slower pace of the combat and the closer, but I mean, some of the things I was finding with I was in the medium sized ships, it is a lot harder. Like it's not because like you were in the Gladius and you were keeping underneath my nose, and like I couldn't do anything with that. So I think it's going to fundamentally change the way people are fighting. I do hope, and I know there will be, but I do kind of hope there is more tuning. I hope, because one thing I was noticing, like I want to get out of combat and get a little safer and center myself and get back into it. So like getting into nav mode and stuff and getting out of there fast did take a long time, and like I was getting torn up while that was all happening. So like I hope there is some balance there, because I think that's where people are the biggest change is gonna be, in like not knowing whether the person coming up on you is hostile and which mode I should be on. And I think obviously right now they're playing around with it with combat ships, but I think they really are going to have to take a look and think about how is the prospector going to handle with this, and like being able to get out of there versus like I'm in mining mode and now all of a sudden I'm getting shot at already and I have to switch to nav mode and get out of there. I think that's going to be like a tough thing, and I hope they think about it, and I hope they balance it. I've been thinking about it in terms of master modes really remind me of the way that some of the things are handled in Elite Dangerous, but I really like how Elite Dangerous handles it, because, and one of the biggest things is like just knowing whether people are in like what in Star Citizen is going to be SCM mode, which is like the kind of combat focused mode, or I mean, for the combat ships especially. In Elite Dangerous, like, oh, somebody's hard points are just got deployed, so they went into the fight mode. So I really hope they think about how that's handled, because I don't want to have to scan every single ship to know which mode they're in, if whether they're friend or foe, because I think that's one thing. Like right now, obviously, we kind of everybody seems to tend to be in the like shoot first and get away kind of mode, or like disable their ship immediately kind of mode. Like we don't have that like, hey, we're coming for a friend, like we're coming to the same place, we're doing something completely different. Well, let's just let each other go on our way. That's not what happens now. It's more of like, hey, we're gonna destroy your ship and disable it, and then figure out what you're doing. It's more of an aggressive combat focused method when we are interacting with other people now. And so I just hope that there are better ways to tell if somebody, I don't want to say is friendly, but at least they're not coming at me aggressively. If it's like it is now, I don't really know. I don't necessarily know what their stance is, how they're coming at me, if they've got their weapons powered up or if they've got their quantum drive. I don't know. And looking into master modes, I hope there is that way to tell faster than like having to scan every single ship. And even, I mean, I was thinking about it, like in Elite Dangerous, yes, you're able to quantum interdict people and not allow them to jump away, but there is still a way for you to get out. You can jump to a whole other system, instead of like just going back into super cruise. As somebody who is less aggressive, less combat and PvP focused, and I know the pirates will hate to hear this, but like I would rather, like even if I do have to jump like halfway across the system, I would still rather have that option, as opposed to like, oh, I'm quantum interdicted, the mantis is faster than me, there's literally nothing I can do. And if I try to run and try to get into nav mode, I'm gonna get chewed up and destroyed anyway. So I would hate if we only have that option to where we have to like shut down and allow the pirates to get us. Like I feel like there should be still some way. And one thing I really don't necessarily like is the like losing your shields if you're in nav mode. Like you think about all like the sci-fi and everybody is like people warp in and they've got shields up immediately. Like I just don't agree with the like I'm switching to navigation mode, so I'm gonna completely lose my ability. I mean, even just the fact that you can't do flares or anything, countermeasures and decoys and stuff when you're in nav mode. I just completely disagree with that. Like I think we should either be able to keep our shields and either have them engage or not, or be able to do countermeasures or something to where we have some sort of defenses while we're in nav mode, because there's that disparity between the light fighters who can keep up with you halfway. If I'm speeding up as a prospector, they can still outpace me as I'm speeding up into nav mode. They're still halfway up my speed limiter, so they're keeping up with me and still putting shots on me while I'm at 50% shields. I just think that needs better balance, in my opinion. I don't know what.
So,
I know you've been playing around with it too, so.
so I think your thing of like being quantum interdicted is not an issue, because you already be in nav mode, and they have to be in SCM mode to use that quantum interdiction. So if you get pulled out, you just got it and just keep going.
Yeah, I hope that's right. hope that's
Because like if you can't use countermeasures, why would I be able to use an EMP or a quantum interdiction? You know, and you know it's like you'll be in nav mode already. I do think it could be a little bit faster, but I think you're gonna have to be really smart with how you fly your ships now. Like if I'm coming in to do like anything combat, I'm like in a place where combat's like kind of common. As soon as I'm out of quantum, I'm gonna be switched to SCM. You know, put shields up, get weapons online, and everything like that. If I'm just going to do like a quick cargo trading thing, you know, like, I'm probably not going to switch to SCM speed. I'm just going to be in nav mode all the time.
Yeah.
You know, coming down my prospector, I do the mining, and you know, SCM and you know, nav mode and fly away. Now that brings up the thing of you know somebody coming to attack you when you're doing mining, because again,
you're gonna have to be in SCM mode.
If I can't use countermeasures, I can't mine in nav mode either.
Yeah.
So I think for that, again, it makes it smarter, right? You have to be smarter about your stuff. So doing stuff in the Halo is going to be a little bit safer because the chances of finding somebody else in the Halo are very small. Granted, it does happen. We have found multiple people in the Halo before, but when you go out to do mining, rather than being like, oh, I'm you know perfectly safe in my little prospector, you're going to be like, hey, I'm doing mining. Can I have a security person with me? So you're going to require multiple people to do a solo person's job now, which I'm okay with. Because if you're going to do mining, you're going to want security anyways. You know, you don't... what are you going to do? Shoot them with your size 1 badgers? You know, you're not going to really do much. But having a dedicated, like, security, like even one security personnel with you is perfect. If you have multiple, it's even better. So just being able to hey, I need people to come with me is going to make it much better. I understand your concerns with everything, and yeah, there should be like at least give us chaff and flares in nav mode. But you know, as a pilot too, you need to be a little bit smarter with your stuff. Like don't get me wrong, I'm gonna go in a vulture one day and I'm gonna get clapped and I'll be upset because I didn't have a security. But I have to like, hey, I need security now. But yeah, like so it's just being smarter now with master modes. Like it's not so much the person who's flying the ship, but it's now the people you fly with are now required.
Yeah. And I see that. Like I said, I do hope more so that, like I said, that we'll know what modes people are in, or there will be a better indicator going forward. And like I said, you'll have to pre-plan, but if I'm not able to pre-plan, I would still like a better indicator as well, as well as the different modes.
Hopefully when people are in SCM mode, because shields and weapons and chaff and blah 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 are all online, their IR and EM signatures are going to be much higher. Yeah. So if you're a person who can like just target a ship and you're like, okay, well their EM's like, you know, 3,000, but a Gladius with its weapons online is 7,000. It's like, well, he's only at 3,000. So he's probably in nav mode right now. And he comes in with 7,000. You're like,
my thing was just, I would hope that like there would be like an audible alarm or something, like, because in Elite Dangerous it's like hard points deployed kind of thing, like, so you know that somebody came into your area with their with higher EM or whatever, and I would hope that would. Yeah. I mean, you would think 900 years in the future that there would be sensors that would tell you that kind of thing.
Oh boy, I can't wait for what is it, Argo's voice? Hard points deployed. That would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go. Obviously, none of this stuff is going to be in tier 1 master modes. It's just the difference between SCM and nav mode. Yeah. But in the future, I hope they do, again, take the feedback from the people. You know, like Bob has concerns now before it's even fully implemented.
And it's more things I hope they thought about while they were implementing this, because I just see it coming from, they're just thinking about it in a combat context. I mean, it came from Squadron 42. They talked about this in the SCL, that it came from Squadron 42. This felt better for combat dynamics. So I'm just hoping that they do look at it in a holistic way.
Yeah, it's way better combat. Like, doing the Arena Commander, Vandal Swarm with master modes. It's just so much fun. There's no like long jousting strafes. You know, it's actual like rotating dogfights, like like pirate ships would. It just feels better. It works better. It looks better. And like I said, in the future it will be better.
Like I said, it's just first iteration and or at least first iteration coming into the persistent universe. So like I say, there will be changes and they'll kind of rebalance things as it comes online. So yeah.
So the next card we already talked about in extensive detail, which is the dynamic crosshair. Yeah, not really much you can add to what we already said previously. So the final card of 3.23, Core Tech 1 entry, Replication Layer update.
It's interesting that they put this as a card here because technically, because I just saw something the other day where a dev was kind of commented on this. This is not a specific 323 thing. This is a when it's done, and we will implement it, is what they said. So it's interesting that they put under this, the card under this, the replication layer stuff.
Maybe they're hoping to have it out by 323.
Yeah, I think they had to push it out of 322 specifically, but they just wanted that card there so people knew that it was on the roadmap, basically.
Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of videos. I haven't gone through the tech test, physically test it, because it's not big enough for me to really care too much about the want to really test it. But I've been watching a lot of videos, and it seems to be doing pretty well. When a server crashes, it migrates everything from server A to server B. Your position stays, your missions do stay. At least some of the missions do. Some things might change. Like I did see on one person's, their bounty hunter target's name changed, but it was still at the same location and everything. The elevators sometimes don't fully transfer over. They kind of flicker in and out, but there was a bug fix for that. You just take your tractor beam, shoot it once on the elevator, and it fixes it. So it's cool that that's already like a fix for the bug, which, kudos to the guy who's not like, let me just shoot it with my tractor.
I just need to reset it in the path.
So it's greater server recovery. That's basically all this is. It is, I believe, the last layer we need to really get server meshing going. Like we needed PES, which we got in 3.18, and boy, that was a horrible thing to add because it was really buggy and didn't work very well for the first time. But it works now pretty well. I did go on one server one night, and then I got off and I went back to a server, and I was on that same server because it spawned me. It was actually the Daymar server. I went off the Daymar server and I spawned right next to where La Betty was, and my ship was still right next to me and everything. I was like, whoa, this is nuts. So that's cool. That works. And replication layer update, I think, is looking very well. Like I said, I haven't personally tested it, but from what I've seen, it's been very, very good. So once that's done, we can finally get server meshing.
That's that next big hurdle will help us get to Pyro and beyond. And that's the one that back end core tech that we're looking forward to, which will kind of just move the game so far forward.
Yeah, I can't wait until that's in, because like I said, we get Pyro. Once that's in, server meshing's in, we get Pyro, we can get Terra, we can get Magnus, all these systems that they want to add. And that's what we need. We need, like, playing Pyro was so much fun on the tech test. And we kind of need Pyro at this point. We need something new. We need something fresh. And, you're changing the whole game here with 3.23. Like, we mentioned it many times in this podcast episode. It's a whole new game. Once you add Pyro, that's going to be the next biggest thing. That's going to change the whole game again. I think once Pyro's in, any form of it's a scam is completely invalid. Most of it's invalid now. Like, most people are like, oh, it's a scam, it's not a real game. It's like, it is. I have thousands of hours in it. And like, yes, we're still waiting on stuff that we want, like certain ships, stuff like that. But it's there. It's physical. It's playable. We did nothing today. We looked at some armors today and spent 2 hours in game doing not a damn thing. But it was so fun. Like, it's more fun than anything that I've played in a long time. And so once you add Pyro, like, people was like, oh, it's a scam. It's not. We developed tech that has not existed. You know, server meshing is not a real thing as of today. The concept of it, yes, but like PES, even PES is still like an extraordinary feat. Like, yes, it does exist in other games, but not on the scale of Star Citizen. You know, replication layer is people are like, oh, it's just server recovery. Like that happens on many games. You're right, it does, but not on the scale of Star Citizen. And you know, these are replication layer update that we're gonna get hopefully in 3.23 or by 3.23 is significantly stronger and better than any other form of replication layering out there. You know, like same with PES. Like there are some games like Sea of Thieves has PES. You drop a piece of treasure somewhere and you come back, you know, like 3 days later and it's there. But their servers only last 3 days, 72 hours each server, then it shuts down and refreshes. As long as that server has not crashed, that item that you left in Star Citizen will be there days, weeks, months later on, you know, as long as it's up. And replication layer, I drop a box there, that server crashes, replication layer swoops in, grabs that item, puts it into the new server, PES is still active. It's like it's there indefinitely until the server does cleanup. Now that's needed because of, if not, think about how many medical gowns will be spread across the verse. It would be like swimming through boxes of medical gowns. Yeah. We swim through boxes of medical gowns because they don't clean them up, but they have to have a cleanup. But theoretically, one server can run indefinitely and have, you know, 4 trillion medical gowns just at Area 18 and be there indefinitely.
Yeah, it could get crazy. And this is just one of those core techs to get us to a point to where it can have, where the server keeps track of items long lasting. Replication layer is just that recovery kind of thing to where you're moving between servers, you're moving if a server happens to crash, you're moving to a new server, but it's where it can follow you across servers and items can stay persistent. This is just another one of those layers that helps build that up and makes it the game that they want it to be eventually.
There's so much stuff that can happen with this server meshing, replication layers. Like eventually Star Citizen will be able to reach the goal of it's one server. You know, how many citizens do we have? We have 5 million citizens, 6 million citizens, 6 million people. Theoretically, 5 million people theoretically on one server across 152 systems and God knows how many planets. And this is stuff that's going to be needed for base building too. Like, you know, that's not something that people think about. Like they always think about pyro, think about base building. Like I build a base if I'm on one server and somebody builds a base at the exact same like area. Like the chances of that happening are small, but it could happen. You know, and then like let's say Bob builds his right next to, you know, our core mining 56 and I build mine right on top of his. We both load into the same server. What happens to our bases? You know, they're going to crash into each other and we lose everything, or does it move one of our bases to the side? But I don't want mine over there anymore. So being able to physically have replication layer, PES, and server meshing, you know, like, hey, somebody owns this area already. I can't go here because there's physically an item blocking me, regardless if they're online or not.
Yeah, that's a lot of things that they are going to work on and think about, but it'll be cool to see.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things that people don't talk about, and I don't know why people don't talk about these things.
I just don't think they think everybody thinks about all this stuff. We overthought about a lot of things,
and that's the thing that we've always said is Quantum Jump overthinks everything. Mainly it's me who overthinks everything, but you know, that's why I have the black book of random questions. It's stuff that, you know, even if nobody else has thought about, even CIG, you know, hopefully somebody from CIG might see this video and be like, oh, I didn't think about that, and they can bring it up and we can better the game that way, you know, or somebody else can see this and be like, hey, that's interesting, like, have you guys thought about this? You know, they'll be like, oh, we haven't, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's why, I mean, that's the great thing about this this game and community, that we have that ability. We're seeing it being developed and we can kind of voice our opinions, and we've got Spectrum and we've got Reddit to where we can go and then we can start podcasts about it too, and and talk about these ideas and think about it and theory craft and just kind of look over how it's all going to work and think about it and work together on making a better game.
Like I said, Star Citizen for me has never been a normal game. You know, this is a different life. that you can live. And, it's a sandbox. Like, you can do whatever you want. You want to go in and just do nothing but cargo or mining. We have a guy who does nothing in the game but mining. He goes in and mines like 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's all he does. And that's his niche. I go in and, I'm sure I got ADHD because I can't do the same thing twice. I got to do something different every time, but I can.
Yeah.
I go and I can go do some arena commander one day. I can go do medical beacons the next day. I can, just literally sit around and look at armor the next day. And, the game is what you make it. And if we didn't sit here and put our ideas, put this black book to use, it's useless. We could make the game better by just doing this. And, just putting it out there. If anyone from CIG does see it and they want to talk about the stuff in my black book, hit me up, we'll talk a little bit. I have like 7 pages filled in this book already.
And you just started doing that too. So
I just started doing it in like the last like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe month, maybe last month. And there's a lot of things in lore too. Like we'll definitely have to talk about some of the lore. Like I want to look up and see if it's already been answered, but it's stuff that pops in my head. I'm like, is that a thing? Like the Moby Glass, like, does it have an app store?
Sure, there's an answer somewhere, maybe.
Or if not.
Well, I do know that Galactopedia is getting added to the Moby Glass at some point.
Yeah, the Galactopedia is getting added to the Moby Glass. That would be pretty cool. Definitely need to have the search function for that. I'm not going to sit there doing drop-down menus for Galactopedia.
Definitely not.
Scroll up. That ends all 18 cards.
Dang. It's a huge.
This is definitely going to be our longest episode.
By far, yes.
I think we're close to about like 2.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Right around there.
So anything else you want to add before we go to our final segment?
No, I think we covered 323 pretty well. We're looking forward to it. Like I said, we're crossing our fingers for April. Even CIG is crossing their fingers for April, but we'll see when it rolls around. There's a lot of good things, and we're excited to see it all.
So one thing I do want to quickly add, and when you edit this, I'm going to need you to like zoom in on me right here. Where is my Polaris on the roadmap?
You had to get it in there.
I tried, but where's my Polaris? I want my Polaris.
Soon, right. TM.
Let's go ahead and go to TM. All right. So at the very end that we've been doing, I have a wheel with every single ship that's listed in Star Citizen. This includes some weird, unique ships like the Bengal, which is stuff that can't be purchased. We're going to spin the wheel, talk about that ship, and then give a personal rating based on our usability with it, as well as the org's usability with it. So let's see what ship we got here. And we got the Pisces C8X expedition model.
Very specific on that one.
Yeah, I think it actually does have it has all 3 models. So the regular model, the expedition model, and the rescue model on this list. I don't think there's a difference between the regular and the expedition.
So I was just taking a look to see what. I'm not seeing anything.
Okay, so we'll just grab them in together because it's just a paint job then. So go to remove both.
Goes along with the expedition Carrick, which it also doesn't have a difference.
Just the same as just the paint.
Wait, does it say turret?
Oh wait, it has a turret.
Yeah, on the page it says 2 TBC laser cannons. Well, that's weird. So one thing labels weapons, and the other 2 variants have their weapons under weapons, but then this one has it under turrets. But it's the same one as the regular C8. So it's exactly the same. Okay. So never mind. No, there's no difference.
So we'll just talk about the C8X. We'll leave the C8R on the page because it's a completely different model. Yep. So the standard Pisces. I remember when I said I didn't want another snub on, because this is 3 episodes and 3 small ships. Like, give us something big next time.
Yeah.
C8. I'm going to say C8 because I keep wanting to say C8R, but I just want to say C8. As a ship that comes with the Carrick, great. As a solo ship, I think it was a good starter until the cutter came out. It was a good starter ship because it gave it was fast, it was nimble, some decent cargo. But I think now as a starter ship, it's been replaced by the cutter. So having it as a solo standalone ship, probably not the best idea.
My only thinking on that is because I actually, I just flew one today.
Oh, interesting.
I've obviously flown the C8R quite a bit over the last year or so since it came out. But yeah, I actually flew it today, and it got me thinking because we were doing some small group stuff, and it's got a pilot seat and two drop seats plus 4 SU of cargo. So if you're in a small group, and I mean, the one thing the Cutter doesn't have is extra seating. It has a bed, and I think the Rambler variant is the only one that has a little table with a seat on it. So
Yeah.
other than flying the Rambler, I mean, yeah, your friends can lay on the bed in the back, but it doesn't have the ability to carry other people with you. So if you're doing just those, I mean, you could do some bunker missions with it. You can have a 1 or 4 SEU box in there that you can throw stuff in, or 1 or 2 SEU box in there. You could do delivery missions. I mean, it's got an okay quantum drive in it, so you can still get around the system. Because I mean, I flew out to Microtech, and I had to stop once, but I mean, that's still better than a lot of ships. I mean, you're like, if I'm flying an Arrow, I have to stop 2 or 3 times to get across the system. So it's a decent way to get across the system. I mean, a little slower than the bigger ships, but it's actually a pretty decent little ship still. I mean, if you, again, for especially small groups going to like bunkers or something, and if you didn't want to go to the C8R, it would still be a pretty good, viable option for that, because you're going to be able to do bunkers or some of those types of missions. Obviously, you're not going to be doing a lot of space combat or anything like that, but those FPS missions, it's very good for that.
Yeah, I'll give it that. Like I said, it's definitely good for the size. I think it pairs best with a Carrack for obvious reasons. Yeah, we do fly our C8Rs, the medical variants, very extensively. It's kind of like our primary medical ship at this point, because we have so many Carracks that we always have one loaded into a Carrack. So it's just kind of natural for us to land the Carrack and then fly the C8R out if we need to. But before, we were using the C8 standard, like the regular C8s, before the C8Rs were out. And again, very useful ship. I hadn't flown it in a while. Like I said, personally, I don't think I would get one just to have.
I agree with that.
I would definitely have to have it separated.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's definitely a good one, like as a pair with the Carrack. I mean, you're not, like I said, it can get across the system, but it is nicer to be in one of those bigger ships. But I mean, if you did just have like a small group, that would be my only thing. If you wanted to go do those types of smaller FPS missions, that would be the only reason I would use it. Otherwise, having it as a snub of the Carrack would be is always a good addition.
Yeah. Not really much I can say much more about it. So I guess we'll give it its rating based on our personal use as well as the org use. So take what we say with a grain of salt. These are just how we personally do it. For me, I guess the C8R, the medical variant, kind of gives it a little bit more for me because I love the C8R so much. And it is kind of like our original drop ship that we were using for a while. Back when we only had one Carrack in the entire org. So I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll definitely give it a 7. Pair it with a Carrack, I'll give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I would probably go with probably a 6 or a 7. I think it's very viable for a small group, and if you just needed a little bit of cargo to take with you, that's a 3-person ship, a little bit of cargo. Can get into small spaces with the org. I mean, like you say, we don't really use it that much anymore because we have the other variant, but I think it could be viable for certain missions or for certain engagements that we might do. I think it still can be a viable option, and it comes with the Carrack, so we can throw one in there, and yeah, it's a good little ship.
So yeah, I think we're all set now for the longest episode we'll probably hopefully ever gonna do.
Yes,
but man, there was so much.
I didn't realize how many cards there were. I looked at it the other day and I was like, oh yeah, we can get through that.
18.
Yeah,
18 cards.
There's a lot of updates.
So real quick, I guess the star map for you will be number 1.
Yes, 100%. That's, like I said, it's a core fundamental thing for any game, I think. So I think having this big update and having that foundation built to where they can add more later, I think is a huge thing.
For me, it's probably the freight elevators and being able to load up our vehicles quickly. Sadly, we can't load up the C8s. We have to still go planet side to do that, but it's a start.
Yeah, so that is the episode. It's a big episode. We covered a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep, have a good one, guys.